Um, so we had to move the boat from Florida to Cuba. The boat was dry docked and it was just sitting behind, like, beside all these other boats in a massive boatyard. And then we went to sleep, and the next morning was the day that we were getting it into the water. And they had this massive, like, square crane, and they just dropped down these straps that they strapped underneath the boat, and it lifted up the entire boat. And the day we left was the day that we crossed under 3 bridges. The first one, we had thought that we had enough room. But then we heard a slight ting, 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 ting-a-ting-ting. And it turns out that the antenna on top of the mast was hitting the top of the bridge. We were really scared, and then that made us really scared for the next watch. Luckily, nothing hit. And then the 3rd bridge. Whoa, the entire bridge is lifting up. Look at that. The bomb's already in line with the very top of the bridge. And it's still going up. Crazy. Today we got out to sea. We did the boat christening, where we named the boat and used a bunch of champagne. There was a lot of champagne and shards of glass. Pretty sure there's still a few shards of glass on the boat. Anyways, so then that night, I'm pretty sure it was, there was this massive thunderstorm behind us, and it was just like a veil of clouds over top of it. Okay, so we just saw a pod of dolphins. They were swimming right next to us, and they were just like jumping out of the water until they got bored of us, and then they left, and then we've just been left to watch those flying fish jump out of the water every so often. A little birdie stopped by as well. We're really far from any land, so I don't know where it came from or where it was going. All we know is that it's a little bird, and it's like the one that's I'm a pirate.
Oh, he's picking his lace. That's awesome, man.
And
Baby.
a train.
Somebody does like corn chips.
What are we naming him, Jasper?
Floyd. Practically every night we did night watches where each person has a 3-hour shift or something. Basically sit around and look for boats. But we didn't see much boat traffic with the exception being some really big cruise ships, which were nearly impossible to miss because like every floor had a bunch of neon fluorescent lighting.
Hi. Well, we haven't caught a fish yet. It's almost beer o'clock, and the water's very pretty out here.
Sunrise is still coming. Haven't got it but I fear that it will get locked out by this massive storm the boat was pretty much sideways for the majority of the trip. Entering Cuba, there was a lot of just like radioing and waiting for the all clear to go into Cuba and enter the marina so that we could go through customs. And then we just sat there and waited for the all clear. Once we got in though, the like customs was pretty rudimentary, and one guy had a briefcase with just one piece of paper in it. I don't even think it was an important document either. It was just a piece of paper. So the marina we had entered was called Marina Gaviota. One thing I did find fun there though was the double-decker buses that were like 3 pesos. There were like 3 separate small markets that just sold practically the exact same thing. Straw hats, paintings, and marlin spike knives. When we went to the market, there were separate markets that we saw that had this same knife. And I bought this one because it was actually from a market that was selling it for the cheapest, 10 pesos, whereas the other ones were selling them for like 15. So yeah, I got a good deal. And then I also got my sister this small little ukulele that actually works. So we decided to go to Havana, which was this like massive city. And there was one section that was called Old Havana, and it was full of things like statues of old writers, like Shakespearean times writers. And there were like statues of newer writers and characters from stuff. And then there was also this massive portrait of just what life was like with the dapper folk and the not so dapper folk. There was one area that was just like a garden, and there was a lot of kittens in there. So I got to pet them all. It was fun. There was also this giant fort with like 3-meter thick walls made of stone and coral. And there were 3 of these forts. 2 on either side of the little river that enters the marina, and 1 behind them to defend against land-based attacks. The reason we moved marinas from Marina Gaviota to this other marina that I can't remember the name of was this lady named Debbie, who was also a fellow Canadian, and she told us all the great things about this place. Like, the upsides were closer to the airport, and they have a restaurant and a little store and a pub.
I'm not very good at throwing spears.
Apparently.
As we were moving from Marina Gaviota to this other marina that I can't remember the name of for the life of me, we stopped at this really old lighthouse on an island.
Smashy, smashy. Ouch. More glass. More glass.
There was this house beside it
Ah.
that would have looked new
Glass
if
hell.
it hadn't been utterly and completely demolished. There was like cement and glass and stuff everywhere around it.
It's a pretty nice conch shell.
Oh wow.
Like if you're looking for it, so if it's got a big slash at the back of it, that means they've smashed it and cut the back of the conch out, and then they just dig it out. So this one,
Wow, he would be a big
this
boy.
one lived in natural. That's a beautiful shell. You should bring that back.
You should.
We went snorkeling and found a ton of massive conch shells that were at least a foot long, if not more. And we also found a lot of like dead coral rocks, but we didn't find any living coral really. Only like a few pieces of fan coral and a lot of sea sponge. But we did find a lot of fish. But we didn't find any actually living conch to live in those giant conch shells. Which made us wonder, what happened? Why are they missing? And when did they go missing?
Taking shortcuts.
In my opinion, the trip was a success and very interesting and fun.